Ja Morant is a very lucky guy today after he apparently dodged a 50-game mandatory suspension by the league after Ja Morant went on Instagram Live following a Grizzlies loss to the Nuggets on March 3rd, and it appears that he flashed a gun across the screen to his followers. The league has announced that Ja Morant will be suspended for 8 games without pay over this incident. Adam Silver actually met with Ja in person to talk about his actions. The NBA's commissioner said Ja's conduct was irresponsible, reckless, and potentially very dangerous. It also has serious consequences given his enormous following and influence, particularly among young fans who look up to him. He has expressed sincere contrition and remorse for his behavior. In the midst of the announcement of Ja's 8-game suspension, he actually did an interview with none other than ESPN's own Jalen Rose. Ja had this to say when asked straight up and down, was it his gun on Instagram Live that he posted? He said, "This gun wasn't mine. It's not who I am. I don't condone any type of violence, but I take full responsibility for my actions. I made a bad mistake, and I can see the image that I painted over myself with my recent mistakes. But in the future, I'm going to show everybody who Ja really is, what I'm about, and change this narrative." Me personally, I feel mentally good, a place that I haven't been in many years. I'm in a space where I'm very comfortable. I was constantly talking to therapists. I've been doing some treatments. I've been doing anxiety breathing, different stuff to help me manage that and release all that stuff from my body. I made a terrible mistake being inside a club and going on live. I put myself in a bad position and also my daughter in a bad position. There's times where she'll even tell me if she's had a bad day. I feel like if she can tell me that, then I can be able to go and talk to somebody as well. So Ja Morant is going to actually get some back time served. He's been away from the team, and technically he can come back on March 20th when the Grizzlies take on Miami. Most likely, though, it might take Ja a couple more games before he'll come back to being a star guard for the Grizzlies because he ain't been playing basketball. Ja took this time away from the team seriously, and he's been away. Like he said, he's been doing therapy. He's been doing counseling. He ain't been playing basketball apparently, and it's going to take him a couple games to rev it up, but it is good that he's going to get some back time served. So Ja's already around 5 or 6 games in his suspension, and he'll be ready to go probably next week at some point. The Memphis Grizzlies are in a very tight Western Conference playoff race in which Memphis knows they'll be in the playoffs. But what seed will they be? The Denver Nuggets? Pretty much ever since they beat the Grizzlies on March 3rd when Ja had the incident, they have been going backwards, losing more games than they once were. So maybe the Memphis Grizzlies feel like they can catch the Nuggets. They're around 4 or 5 games back. The Grizzlies also got the Sacramento Kings on their tail. De'Aaron Fox and Sacramento have been playing some really good ball, and they're right there in the thick of things with the Grizzlies. Speaking of De'Aaron Fox, though Ja Morant dodged the 50-game suspension, there might be one more tap on the wrist that Ja might have to suffer. We shall see. But keep in mind, Ja Morant's got a clause in his contract. If he makes an All-NBA team this year, he gets $30 million extra. If this suspension leads to Ja not making an All-NBA team, it'll likely be De'Aaron Fox that takes his place on the 3rd team. Ja won't get that money. So that just goes to show anybody out there, the things you do in the moment may not seem big. But yes, Ja's going to lose $670,000. That's for sure. But losing $30 million potentially because he ain't been around in this stretch where a guard like De'Aaron Fox has been balling and maybe he's going to take his All-NBA spot. We talking about maybe losing $30 million, and that might just be a consequence that Ja will have to suffer. Anywho, hopefully we're done with this. Ja say he about to grow up. Hopefully he means that. I don't want to hear about no more incidents with Ja Morant in Memphis, in high schools in Memphis. Too many stories about Ja Morant with guns and too many stories with Ja Morant and kids. All right, and I don't need Ja by himself to just grow up. I need everybody around Ja Morant to grow up. And anybody that doesn't understand how serious this could have been with Ja, you need to kick him out your life. or get them away from your life until they understand what's at stake here. Ja can be a billionaire. If you think about it, with the money that the NBA has floating around, assuming the league doesn't tank over the next 15, 20 years, which will be Ja Morant's career, assuming he's able to stay healthy. Think about it. Ja Morant's going to have at least a $200 to $300 million deal with Nike. Ja Morant's probably going to see 3.5, maybe even 4.5 max contracts by the NBA. He's going to see a lot of max contracts. Those max contracts in the league are now $200-300 million. This man's got a realistic chance at $1 billion. And yes, the millions are great, but when we start talking billions, we're talking about people that are among the richest in literally in the world. So Ja Morant's got a huge opportunity right in front of him, and I just don't want to see this young brother lose his money. So anybody that ain't for the best of Ja Morant, that doesn't understand how bad this could have been, that's just brushing it off like, hey, you only said 8-game suspension, I hope Ja kicks him out their life, family included. I don't need people calling Ja Morant about incidents that he's having at finish line. Okay, you have a chance at $1 billion. You're up. Who gives a damn about what's going on at finish line? I don't need people calling Ja Morant about things going on at high school. Move to another high school. Okay? Go to a private school. Go somewhere where you don't have problems in high school. Period. I don't need to hear all this.